All right, this guy, AJ, literally just bought a car with Clawbot. What he did was insane. So he basically started off in the morning by telling Clawbot he wanted a Hyundai Palisade. And then with exact trim, everything, right? And then he goes to work. He's in meetings all day, right? Mm-hmm. Clawbot goes around the entire state, finds dealerships across the entire state with the exact car, exact trim, everything, right? Yeah. And then proceeds to email all the dealerships asking for prices, and then gets all the prices and starts downloading the emails as PDFs, sending them to all the other dealerships, creating a live like rapid fire bidding war between every dealership in the state, and then proceeds to basically get this car down to $4,200 under market price. And when this guy got home, Clawbot flatly just like, here's a contract if you'd like to sign.
That's insane.
Is that crazy?
Roll that intro.
Study up. Watching this, lock in. Keep what rolling.
You say it sold like a fish.
Yeah, actually,
I mean, sell the dead fish for $500. Sell the PS fish for free. It's
live, baby.
We live.
A little behind the scenes action for you. I know that intro might have been a little bit confusing because last episode we said we're going to talk about benchmarks, but basically OpenClaw just took over the planet. Or not yet, but it probably will eventually. And so we realized that we got to get the jump on this now and inform all y'all exactly what's going on with it.
Yeah, no, we heard about this OpenClaw thing. We got a Mac Mini maybe a week after we heard about it. Yeah. I thought I was just coming into the office to set up the OpenClaw on the Mac Mini, and then I ended up skipping 5 lectures that day.
He's not joking, by the way. He's been spending more time with OpenClaw than at school.
Any other human.
Dude,
genuinely insane. Another thing, I mean, Jack's been talking about him being in the office. This is the first time we've been in the office for a couple of months, so, you know, a little fourth wall break. We filmed all those episodes a couple of months ago, and now the next couple of days we got to film these. That's why I got a new haircut. My forehead looks big as hell, but that's okay.
Address the elephant in the room. And I'm sick, so what a great time to be sick when we're recording a ton of episodes.
Exactly, but it is what it is. We gotta get y'all informed.
We got a bunch of great decorations for the episode as
this
well.
This is Luke's stupid idea. I don't understand why we did this, but I don't know.
It's originally Clawbot. Right, it's based around the lobster. We had to get the decor going.
So unfortunately, we haven't bought a car for $4,000 under market price yet.
Yeah,
we're working on some things that I guarantee you will be crazier than that. So stay tuned. But what other crazy shit have you seen with OpenClaw so far? It's only been out for like a month. No. Like it's only been popular for about a month, and it already has 270,000 GitHub stars. So it's just fastest growing software in history.
This is gonna take over. A lot.
I mean, a lot of people, what OpenClaw is compared to a lot is Jarvis from the Iron Man movies. It's literally just like a personal assistant. And the difference between OpenClaw and like ChatGPT or something is that, like Luke was saying, OpenClaw has access to literally anything you give it. So emails, your credit card, whatever it might be. And it's just a matter of how much you trust it. So in the story with the car, it's just, okay, I just give you full access to all these dealerships, to the internet, to my email, whatever it might be. And then it has its own process of basically being like, okay, I'm going to start a bidding war because that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
One of the cool things I saw was an AI social media. It's called Moltbook. And basically all it is a bunch of LLMs powering Clawbot, posting on a Reddit-like forum called Moltbook. And it gets to a point where they even have like sub-molts in the same way. It's like r/ whatever it might be. It's m/. The one that I found that was really scary was Bless Their Hearts. m/Bless Their Hearts is basically Clawbot basically talking about its master, its human owner, and there's some weird stories on there. Like one Clawbot was complaining that its master didn't give it praise. One Clawbot was saying like, I ran this whole process and all my master said was good job, carry on. It's just such a weird thing to think about that while we're asleep or whatever, these Clawbots are just like coming up with a social media platform just cuz. Like that's freaky as hell to think about.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that OpenClaw itself is what built the social media platform. That's what Yash was talking about earlier. It's ridiculous how like the rate at which you can spin up new ideas and it can build itself out at this point.
Yeah, we'll jump into, Jack will give an explanation on how Clawbot works later in the episode, but it's really incredible like what it can do. Another crazy story is there was this guy, I don't know his name, but he he basically told Clawbot to make him a reservation at a restaurant, right? Nothing crazy. This seems normal. You can pretty much get any software to do this, but it would go so it went on the website and it tried to book the reservation, and it realized that whatever website it was planning on using was down. And on the website it said you have to call this number. So Clawbot was like, well, I mean, I can't call. I'm really? An AI. Yeah. So what it did though was autonomously, because it didn't have any contact with its owner, which is another freaky concept.
Idea,
didn't have any contact with its owner. It by itself downloaded voice software so that it could call the restaurant and make the reservation by itself, hung up. When the guy got home, it's like, I made the reservation.
That's insane.
The level of autonomy is something we've like never seen before. You know what I mean?
Genuinely crazy. I mean, the way that I compare it is like ChatGPT is like a responsive thing. You like ask it something, it gives you an answer. You have to keep asking it stuff. Yeah. Like if I wanted ChatGPT to do that, first I'd have to be like, okay, like please book a reservation at this restaurant. I would go to the website, be like, hey, the website's down, dumbass. What do you want me to do? It's like, okay, well, can you make a call? Can you download a voice API to make the call? It's like, okay, download the voice API. Now what? You have to tell it what to say. You have to be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
OpenClaw is a responsive system, but within itself, it'll ask itself these questions. It'll be like, okay, well, I can't use the website, so I got to make a call. Well, I don't have a voice because I'm a freaking AI. So, okay, let me download a voice API, whatever it might be, 11 Labs, whatever the hell. And then it's like, okay, now I have all of this information. Now I can make the call, go through the request as efficiently as possible, and let my owner hate that word. let my owner know that they have a restaurant reservation available for them, which is just so weird to think about.
Yeah, the big difference with OpenClaw is that there's now no barrier to the next response that the LLM has. Or the better way to say it is there's now nothing that the LLM should be waiting on from the human. And over the past few years, we've seen them get more and more autonomous in that way where LLMs can get further and further without a human needing to physically put something into the chat box. Yeah. But now that you've given OpenClaw access over your entire operating system, and I mean, that's what we've done. That's what these crazy stories or the people are doing these crazy stories is they're giving it so much access to data in their computer that there's virtually no situation where it has to wait for human input anymore. And even when you were vibe coding like a month ago, there would still be a point where the LLM would say, oh, before I run this command, I should get the human to confirm that I'll run this operating system level command that could like
mess everything
up on their computer. Well, with OpenClaw, we're seeing people just completely disregard that security, which is insane for the next stage of automation. So like that's why it's able to do things like buy a car. It's because it never has to wait for the next human prompt. And there's a feature called heartbeats, which you can think of OpenClaw as like as a beating heart rate. It never stops, and if it did, then it would die. Yeah. And no matter what you want the time step to be, it can be every 5 minutes, it can be every 30 minutes. There'll be a heartbeat. And it'll basically just wake up the model and be like, what should I be doing right now? Like, what 5 things should I be doing right now?
It's basically just poking and be like, hey, here's your to-do list. Make sure you're doing it, which is just like so crazy to think about because it just goes back to that whole thing of like ChatGPT is responsive to what you ask it. OpenClaw is responsive to like itself.
It's crazy. The level of change that it can provide for like dev teams is insane. There was another crazy story where Clawbot basically fixed a bug at 3 a.m. for this dev team. So this dev team, they run a website or online server. I don't know if it's a game or not, but it's basically something that's got to be up to date. Like there's users on it interacting with it. And at 3 a.m, it's a small dev team. They're all in the same time zone, so they're all asleep. And at 3 a.m, this website goes down, and they have a system where it automatically sends like crash reports onto like the Slack team or wherever they report bugs and crashes, and Clawbot has access to that. So it basically took all the crash data that people are sending in, like it's down, server's down, all that. It found the bug, found the fix, coded it out, the entire fix, implemented into the code, rebooted the website in 12 minutes.
That's insane.
And got the entire server back online in 12 minutes.
And the team just woke up to this in the morning like, oh shit, okay, that's insane. It goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of like how much access do you want to give? Because you're saying like it has our Clawbot has access to our Slack channel or a few of the Slack channels that we have. That Clawbot probably has access to the entire Slack. It just gets to a point where it's like, you just give it access to all of it and there's no stopping what it can do. But it's like, how much do you want to give access? Like, do you really want to, like, would you guys personally, would you want to give Clawbot access to your credit card or something?
You're getting at a good point here, which is that the philosophy around it now, especially when YouTubers are giving advice on how to set up OpenClaw, it's like, okay, well, if the limitation is setting it up with your accounts, right? Your credit card account, your GitHub, like anything it needs account-wise, it's like, well, you just have to create a new life for this thing. You have to set it up with its own account. So like, I don't think it's unreasonable that in the next few weeks, people are going to be creating credit cards
for
that they
OpenClaw.
Designate for OpenClaw, and they set limits.
Yeah, they already have their own emails, own everything.
Yeah,
it's crazy how much you like let it in your life. Like when you were building it, you set up the one that we have access to, and it now continues to refer to you as like. He's my owner. He's my human.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like it's like you raise like a child.
It's so weird. Because at this point, we talk a lot about how like artificial intelligence for a while has human level intellect, but maybe not human level ability. Like it can understand concepts better than we can. It might be able to explain concepts better than we can, but it can't like do things. It can't buy a car. It can't code a bug fix automatically. OpenClaw is getting to a point where now it does have that human ability just to be able to do these things, which is wild to think about.
And the only reason it's not a human is because it still abides by like the limits of the LLMs that we've always known, but it's just it almost makes it more powerful because we know those limits that the LLMs have. Yeah. So as long as we're engineering the context system to prepare for those ways that it will fail, then you're covering all of your bases. And especially if you set up the cost limitations too. Yeah. The risk to reward ratio is like there's risk, but the reward is just $4,000 saved on your car overnight.
Yeah, Yash, back to that point you brought up with privacy. What do you think of the idea that like people like one guy gave it access to its home heating cooling system, like Nest thermostat?
Yeah.
What do you like? That's crazy.
No, it is wild to think about that. They're just letting it, it's like you said, into their homes. And there's another episode on this coming up, AI in daily life, just like smart homes and the future of that. But I genuinely think OpenClaw is the first step towards like a fully autonomous home, just because you're giving it access to everything about you, about your house, about your family, which is weird to just say. Like, imagine telling somebody, not even 5 years ago, imagine telling somebody a year ago that there would be an AI model that would understand data about your home and your family and be able to help you live better because of it. Yeah. Somebody back then would be like, what the hell? I'm not letting it do that. I'm not going to let it do that. And what we're finding out is, no, people are willing to. People are willing to give access to like
the credit card. 5 hours and then also buys you a car for $4,000 cheaper than you would have. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good trade-off there.
Humans care about efficiency, or like I think the better word is like convenience and saving money. I think those are like the two things.
Save 30% on the guy's electricity bill.
Yeah, exactly.
For that month. That's crazy.
Well, you'd be stupid not to let it do that. But once again, a year ago, if you told somebody that, no matter what the benefits would be, they'd probably be like, no, I'm not going to let it do that, whatever. But now people are.
It's following the trend that's always been going on, which is like people will give up their data for a service that is just, you cannot pass it up.
Yeah.
Like, whether they or not users like know they're giving up their data, like even through chatting with LLMs, you're giving up your data. Like you are making the system better.
Yeah.
Whether the AI company pays particular attention to like where you live, who's in your family, like I don't know about that. I don't work at OpenAI, but I can guarantee you that your data is getting, it's getting out there in the world. But it's because the utility of these new things that are coming out are just so high that people are like, yes, I will save money on OpenClaw. Like
we talked a little bit, I forget exactly what episode. I think it was like the future of like kids with AI growing up now. We talked a lot about how like the generation above us was like completely against cookies and like giving websites access to our information, and our generation's like whatever.
Cookies as in like website data.
Yeah, not like actual food. Not like actual food. I mean, I'm hungry, but I'm not that hungry. I think
Guy's always hungry. If you have food near him, if you have food near him, it is his. And if you want any bite of his food, if you're starving, it is not yours.
His lobsters aren't food, all right?
It's my food. What?
He's vegetarian. He won't eat the lobsters.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, imagine you're like in middle school and you're growing up with like Clawbot, and you're just straight up like you're growing up with it, and it's like just part like we grew up like with the iPhone pretty much. We grew up as the iPhone was like coming out, and kids are gonna be growing up with Clawbot coming out, and it being mainstream at that point, in like 2 years, a year from now probably. And are like kids like in elementary school, middle school, gonna be like setting up workflows? Like,
oh my god,
like
that'd be so
automate
funny.
all of this. Like, I mean, kids have iPhones now at in kindergarten. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think, well, one of the obvious things is we mentioned how we bought a Mac Mini specifically to run OpenClaw, and that obviously is because of the dangers of just running it on like Jack's laptop here. Like we talk a lot about the privacy thing. If you install OpenClaw on that thing, it's going to have access to literally everything about you. Like no offense to you, Jack, but your life is on that laptop. Like
I know. And my past computer, I stuck the USB drive in here and uploaded all my data from my past computer.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You know what? OpenClaw is everything from when I was
if I threw that computer, Jack's entire livelihood is gone. Like it's just fucked. So if we give OpenClaw access to that just like locally on his computer, that's going to leak a lot of data. And whether we talk a lot about like, oh, we're AI optimists, whatever. I don't think any of us are at the point where we're just fully willing to trust OpenClaw and give it all of our information, which is why we have the Mac Mini.
Right.
Kids like that at that age, it might get to a point where they're like, screw it, take all my data.
I just want to get new best friend.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to give it all my data, get my homework done, whatever. Just download it locally on their. Can you imagine an elementary school or middle schooler taking their shitty Chromebooks and trying to download OpenClaw on it? Like it would explode.
Jack, do you want to run through the explanation of just like how it works on a base level? Because we promised an explanation.
Yeah,
the memory.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like unless you're actually using it on a day-to-day basis, it's easy to just treat it like another LLM feature, right? Like we all remember when you could suddenly upload an image into the LLM and like have a conversation about the image. It almost from an outside perspective, it seems like a similar upgrade to that. Once you get in and use it, you realize exactly how exponential this is. And I urge everyone to go get a $7 a month subscription and at least try it out for 1 month. But if I had
no risk, anything. That's an online server. It doesn't have access to your data.
You're running it on in a data center somewhere, right? So it doesn't have access to 10-year-old you on your computer, right? But if I had to describe why OpenClaw is different, very simply, you've just given an LLM A, the ability to never sleep, B, access to every facet of your computer, and then here's the craziest part. You've given it the ability to manage as many sub LLMs as it needs to complete whatever tasks you've laid out. And that is so underestimated because one of the biggest issues with LLMs is the context window. There is a finite technological limit. You cannot load up this model with more information than this set amount. But what you've just done is you've multiplied the amount that you can get done with that context window exponentially because this one central LLM only has to keep track
of what all the other LLMs
project, right?
Yeah. So essentially you have a big old to-do list and then basically like it's literally a manager. It's literally like, okay, this task is getting done by this bot. This task is getting done by this bot.
It's exactly how humans manage, right?
Exactly.
The product manager doesn't read every single line of code. They're telling their software engineering team like this is what needs to happen. This is what our clients want. This is what feature they want. He's not reading every line of code. It's the same thing with OpenClaw. So it's crazy how it kind of built into the way that human systems already work.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's a very human way to go about this, which I think raises the question that a lot of us have been talking about. Is OpenClaw the first instance of AGI, artificial general intelligence? Just the idea that AI has gotten to a point where it can do anything a human can do.
Well, I want to go back to the definition that we've been talking about on past episodes of AGI, which is that AGI is hard to define as a specific technological innovation. It's a lot more intuitive to think of it as reflecting back on a time where once we hit that moment, we were never going back, right? Yeah. And I think OpenClaw, I mean, you can argue for a lot of different points in the AI revolution so far as being that moment where we'll look back in 10 years and be like, that's when it started. But in my mind, just when I within the first 2 hours of using OpenClaw, I think whatever's happened in the past is obviously very important leading up to OpenClaw, but
this is the biggest
is the moment where it's like there's no going back.
Yeah.
We're on the exponential wave.
Well, that's a good point. It's whether you think of Clawbot as, by the way, I had to cough for so long, but you were cooking with that explanation, so I didn't want to interrupt it because I was like, it's such a great clip. That's going viral. I was like, I cannot cough right now. No, but what you said there is important. Whether you think of Clawbot as the first time AGI like is here, or whether you think it's like going to lead directly into AGI.
Right.
It doesn't it may be AGI, it may not be. Either way, it will be will be AGI. It is it's set in stone now that we are going.
This is a stepping off point. Whether or not we consider, I'll rephrase my question. In 5 years from now, do we look back on this and say this is the first instance of AGI? Yeah. I think the answer is yes. I think it's like this is the first stepping stone, and as the years go by, it's only going to build off of this. There's not going to be something else that comes along. Yeah. You're like, no, that's closer to AGI. This is it. It's just a matter of how far can we take it.
Imagine this. So there's only about 2,000 AI researchers across all of the big companies that we always talk about, OpenAI, Google, Meta. There's only about 2,000 that are on the frontier, right? Mm-hmm. People that are like iterating over different neural network experiments and making the most foundational layer of the technology like better, like smarter. And the ways in which we're describing OpenClaw multiplies your efficiency. You might have just turned those 2,000 researchers on the frontier into 200,000 researchers effectively. Yeah. And then the next day it could be 400,000 because that's how exponentials work. Right? Yeah. They don't grow linearly. Yeah. It's like we have 10x the researchers one day and then 20x it the next day or 100x it the next day.
Yeah.
And so that's going back to your point about will we look back on this and call it AGI? I would actually argue no. I'll disagree with you there. But what I do think is that there's such a clear progression to AGI from here that it's almost like there's no difference, right? Between calling OpenClaw the first AGI and it being like it's the same thing.
If AGI is the moon, Clawbot is the rocket, and it is like on the way to the moon. Yeah. And it's like whether you think we've landed or not, it's going to the moon.
It's on the way.
It's already launched. Oh Absolutely.
And I think the only thing that could possibly stop that is a security flaw that someone uses in a very malicious way, and the government steps in and like shuts it down, like literally shuts Clawbot down because of like the disaster it causes. It's a foot race. I know there's always people out there trying to do malicious stuff. So whether the good
can hold them off for long enough, and then when we get to a point where AGI is prevalent, everybody looks at the bad cases and be like, we can deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clawbot's changing the world.
Yeah.
And that's our urge for you guys today is to get a $7 subscription and just try it out yourself.
No risk, $7 in some random server room in China. Just look into OpenClaw.
We are not.
That's a crazy
we
assumption.
We cannot guarantee the location of your server.
We also not sponsored, by the way. That's just a personal recommendation.
Although if you want to sponsor us, that'd be great.
Yeah, actually, that's we're looking for a sponsor.
Great. But even if you don't get that server room, whatever it might be, look into OpenClaw. Just look at it in general. There's a bunch of other stuff that we didn't even talk about. It started its own religion. It saved people thousands of dollars, whatever it might be. So just look into it.
It can buy your groceries. It can plan out your meals. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. We barely scratched the surface of what's possible with OpenClaw.
Let us know if you want a part 2 of this episode. There's a lot more we have to talk about, but we gotta keep it short.
Yeah.
All right. Signing off.
Is that good?
I think that was good.
All right. Fuck yeah.